YouTube. We're live everywhere. We're going live on. Uh-oh. Hopefully this is working. Going live. Sweaty. Got one person on YouTube. Hey, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Facebook. Welcome, 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 welcome. Everyone tuning in. Good afternoon to everyone just tuning in. We see some from Facebook, from YouTube, from Twitch. Here we go. Everybody, we are back for another Wednesday session breakdown. I'm Paul from Savoir, and this week, wow, someone just, first question of the chat is, what is your opinion about coronavirus? What a question to start. I hate it. This week, we're going to be breaking down our track Heaven, which is track 7 on The Love That Remains, our album from 2016. Let me get it out of that full screen. Welcome back to everyone tuning in right now. Thanks so much. Hope everyone is doing, whoa, there we go. A little glitch there. Hope everyone's doing well out there. It is like 95 degrees here in upstate New York, so if I'm sweatier than usual, I'm sorry, I guess. There's nothing I can do about it. Thank you. Hello, hello. Javier on YouTube. Saludos desde Mexico. I think I pronounced that right. Hello to our friends in Mexico. This is going to be a fun one. This is honestly one of my favorite songs that we've put out. Let me just refresh this chat because it got frozen. So Heaven, this was an interesting time for the band. As many of you know, the band has changed a lot over time. I started back in 2008 with Deidre Muro, who was the lead singer on the first 2 records. And then when she decided to leave in 2014, I kind of reapproached everything and started writing with a bunch of people at that point. Now it's just me and Lauren, but for The Love That Remains, I was writing with a bunch of different singers and other writers. And this one was actually a singer named Winslow Bright, who I had known from the music world in a bunch of ways. And we wrote this song one afternoon in my old apartment in Williamsburg, and I think it came together in 2 or 3 hours. And it was probably one of the songs from that era that came together the fastest. And it's really cool because I think over the years, it's kind of slowly developed more and more of a following. It got on this Netflix show called You, which kind of brought it to a whole another audience, which was really, really cool. But I'm just going to play. Let's start off here by playing you guys the demo, because this is actually what we printed after probably 3 hours of writing. So this is Heaven version 1, and then we'll dive into the session. similar. And I'll skip forward to the chorus. So that was the demo we made the first day, the first afternoon. So this was one of those songs that, you know, honestly, 60, 70%, and even more if you're just thinking about the music, about the backing track. Most of the track was done after the first day of writing, actually. So that was day one writing. And then from there, it was really fun because this is a style or a sort of, this is an aesthetic I love very much. You know, this really borders on the synthwave world, which I love. You know, we had the luck of touring with the Midnight last year, which I think they're one of the premier synthwave artists of the whole movement, to be honest. But this song was kind of, I wanted to put myself in this like very, you know, sequenced, sort of deep 80s kind of nighttime feel. It's not, you know, it's not unlike some of my dad's music for Miami Vice, which I took a lot from when I was growing up. So for this one, you know, let's just break it down. The songwriting of this all centered around that sequence, around the ARP, which ended up being all trusty Roland Juno, and it was basically a layering of these two ostinato figures, which is just a C. And I'll show you guys, once again, that is just my trusty Tal Uno Lux right here. Oh, right here. They're inactivated right now, but I'm telling you, if you don't have it, if you're a producer and you don't have that plugin, get it, because it's the best. Tal Uno Lux. It's basically a Juno emulator, and I can show you. Actually, I'll just show you how this patch works really quick, because it's, you know, kind of important to the central figure itself. So here, I'll make this active. So this actually might be the other bass patch. Let's see. Nope, it's it. So basically the way this works is you hear, this was, yeah, the clavinet sample that I tweaked. It's really, really simple. It's just an arpeggiator set to a 16th note, you know, short, quick decay, quick sustain, quick release with a nice little attack. And it has that nice ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba sort of thing that you would associate with like that very 80s like driving scene thing. So as soon as that came up, there was this kind of like romantic nighttime feel to the song. And again, that plugin is $50, so if you don't have it, add it to your arsenal. And then I layered it with one other Juno, which is the main. It's kind of thick, maybe a little too thick. Boost it for a sec. So that's just a straight up Juno pad, and that's pretty much the basis for that intro. It's a C ostinato, and then the chord changes. So a lot of tension, really a lot of tension and emotion comes from that. That's the, you know, the sort of counterpoint in parts. I write like that a lot, where I'll do an arpeggiator or an ostinato phrase, tone, one note, and then have movement against that. And it's fun because the entire, as you can see here, these are all printed now, but basically the entirety of the song is a interplay of that. This ARP, you know, this ARP is the whole intro, and then it's replaced by this ARP, which is just sharper and kind of more high-end for the verses. And that's pretty much it. You know, like, that is the basis for it, is those ARPs. And against that, it's a perfect opportunity for a very straight kind of electronic beat. So I'll just pull up these drums. Cool thing about this is, again, another hybrid acoustic electronic drum production, which I do a lot. This, I would say, I have some regrets. I think all producers have some regrets around songs. Not all the time, but I have regrets of not maybe cleaning up these drums even more. But this was one actually that I didn't mix. Claudius Mittendorfer mixed this entire record, so he did some magic on the mix. But essentially, I did a one drum take here. So this is just, let me just actually turn up the compressors, because we're quieter now. That's better. So this is me playing drums, and edited a ton so that it was tighter, but some of the parts were full, like the verse. And what I like about this is that when you have live drums, especially hi-hat, there's a little bit of a swing. There's a human element to it that I think, if this was all drum machines, and I'll play it for you when it's all drum machines, you know, this would be the intro. Actually, it's not that bad. But anyway, I think it would be different for the verse.
In the darkest of dark, we are bright. We are holy firelight.
You know, see, a little bit more comes from that, from having the live kit. So basically, it's a live kit, as you can see, pretty simply recorded. I like to compress and double compress and add a little bit of saturation distortion to a drum kit, because without these plugins, they're just kind of dry, and they're a little bit snappy. The transients are a little bit unappealing. But then you put this multiband, which is really compressing. It's actually expanding some of the low end, which just nicely pushes things through. A little bit of distortion as well, which is, yeah. Hello to our friends tuning in from South Korea and Brazil. That's like from here, that's like a complete triangle around the world. I love it. So after having those drums on there, I think, you know, the demo was probably just electronic drums, but it was just such a perfect candidate for the, you know, really a straight drum beat against things. One thing I really like to do on songs like this, to accent that 16th note, sort of propulsion, gated noise, which I'll boost so you can hear it. As you can see. And all that is basically the Prophet. That's this guy. It's the Prophet 08. That's the Prophet 08 set to that could either be the gated sequencer or the arpeggiator, but you just get like a, you know, a short release, short sustain, have it sort of just snappy like that. And the Prophet has something really cool where you can, it's called pan spread. And if you have this option on synths, what's cool about it, you can pan spread it, and the voices, because you know the way synths generally work is there are a series of voices. The voices move. So with each noise oscillator, it steps from voice to voice. So essentially, as the noise goes, it moves from left to right randomly when it has a pan spread. So as you can see here, if you have headphones on, you'll notice that the noise is actually subtly moving from left to right. And what's cool about that is that it actually gives a little bit of movement to the track itself. It's one of those things you probably feel more than you actually hear explicitly, but I think it makes a difference in terms of the feel of that percussion being a little bit more alive. And I had a lot of fun on this one in terms of synth sounds, because, you know, I think when you're working on a record, it's fun for different songs to take on different characters. And as soon as this one started, I was like, this is going to be my full synthwave, full like dramatic 80s movie score production. So I kind of decided to go all the way in terms of my choices with that, which I think honestly made it really fun, and also made it, you know, I think this whole track I produced in a matter of like 1 or 2 days, because it was just really fun. So we got more chords on the Prophet that were very heavily chorused before printed. It's probably just like a soft square wave. And with the Juno, it's really beautiful. Mood for days. And then the main chords were more splashes on the Prophet. Yeah, those are beautiful. I mean, I think I always forget the name of the preset, but that is specifically a preset on the Prophet 08 that we used on Savages, we used on Giants, we used on a bunch of songs from The Love That Remains, because I used this, you know, once I did come up with patches, I like to use sort of like a handful for the whole record. And that was accented a lot by, you know, guitar work on this track, which was really fun. I basically just went to town using 2 of my favorite pedals, the Diamond vibrato pedal and the Boss RV5, which is a very popular pedal amongst indie rockers across the world. It's just the modulation setting on this. That's the reverb that you hear. I'll just play it one more time here. That's the modulation setting on this. Yeah, and what's nice too is it's stereo, so you can run a stereo channel from a plugin or a synth like the Prophet and really get a beautiful wide sound. And I think it was the same plugins on these guitar patches which accent those chords here. Beautiful. And then the high ones too. Well, that's probably clean with a little Echo Boy. Again, you know, these are the most popular plugins for a reason. They're just incredible. I have a Memory Man right here, but especially when you're working, traveling, being able to mix wherever you go, having the Memory Man style in the Echo Boy, it's just so analog sounding. Woo! That's good. Yeah, so it's just a beautiful, beautiful sound there. So that ended up being sort of the guitar sound for a lot of this. But yeah, that got us the intro. The vocals were really fun on this too, because like I said, you know, I kind of just went for it in terms of going over the top. Here's the bass. This is a real electric bass. I'll play that with the drums. It was a fun bass part. What's fun about that electric bass too is that gives a little bit more of a human push and pull, little emphasis, accent. It's nice to, you know, especially in this kind of scenario, have a couple live instruments to just make the track feel alive, because sometimes when everything is so programmed, it's too perfect. You know, you lose any sort of dynamic. So that was really the basis of the verses, as you can see here. It was just this cool chugging, and it also was fun to kind of accent that boop 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 boop. Accenting those upbeats instead of just everything being downbeats. So yeah, from there, that was the palette for the verse. And as you heard in the original demo, the choruses were practically done. I went back and rewrote the verses, I think, a few days later, and it was really fun because, again, I just kind of went full into this romantic, theatrical, dark mode. Because, you know, especially when you write a chorus like that, it's almost a little theatrical, like heaven, I'm in heaven. Like, it was like you're kind of just going for it, you know. And the second part of that, which is will it die? Will it die if we close our eyes in the dark? Those are the lyrics, and it's kind of this idea of like just the pure, the most intense version of a relationship again, you know, which is something we talked a lot about on Our Nature, the previous record. But that's how it feels. That's how intense passion, intense love feels. And often it's a little bit overwhelming, it's a little bit dangerous, but it's still a valid feeling that is, it's artistically exciting to kind of examine and then think about, because it really does feel like you're ascending to heaven, and it feels like, you know, nothing else matters, you know, when you're in that situation. So we started with an incredibly dramatic chorus, and I wanted the verses to match that lyrically and also, you know, lyrically, melodically. So it ended up being like this.
In the night, in the darkest
and I'll take off these effects.
Bright, we are holy fire, the light, crashing to the ground.
Which is like as dramatic as I can get. When I sang on Dreamers, I definitely put on a little bit of this thing too, but this song was like full-on Phantom of the Opera, the 80s rendition.
In the night.
And of course I added a lot of effects. The effects chain for this was really fun. It's Echo Boy on the channel to give it this sort of like swirling feel.
In the night, in the darkest of dark,
stereo pans.
Bright, we are holy fire, the light, crashing to the ground.
And reverb chain, also very lush, very 80s. So it's two distinct layers. There is this reverb.
In the night, in the darkest of dark, we are bright. We are holy fire and light.
So I recommend this kind of a chain when you're going for a very washy. You want the vocal to sort of sit in the mix. It's less of a pop thing, but more of an aesthetic vibe. Send your vocal to a reverb and then compress that reverb like crazy. So I have a C4 after this hall reverb, and then cutting a bunch of low mids and boosting the reverb in the high end, so it's actually very obvious. And as you can tell, it's very obvious.
In the darkest of dark, we are bright. We are holy fire and light. Crash into the ground.
It's pretty cool. And the delay just kind of adds that even more. It's a dotted quarter note Echo Boy studio tape, so it's cleaner. This is the full vocal
In the
treatment.
darkest of dark, we are bright. We are holy fire and light. Crash into the ground.
Dramatic. It was a lot of fun singing
Lovers.
like that. Yeah, and it gets even more dramatic there with the double.
Lovers with a foreign name, say it, do you feel the same? The one worth fighting for. Echoes crash into it all, we separate the bodies fall.
Fancy little harmony there at the end. It's a really fun one. So the layers were really cool there. And again, that was one of the few, I think, kind of really lush songs on the Love That Remains, but it was fun. It was that one, Lover's Wake. I always like to have friends on a record. Lover's Wake, first track on the record, Heaven, seventh track on the record, are both sort of, they were almost two parts of the same idea and production. So that core, and also it was fun to layer a couple group.
Lovers with a foreign name, say it, do you feel
I always like to do that on thicker vocals like that because it makes it pop out. So now you can hear the whole verse.
In the night, in the darkest of dark, we are bright. We are holy fire and light. Crash into the ground.
Yeah. So if you're just tuning in, by the way, I saw a few more people just now. I'm Paul from Savoir. We are doing a breakdown of our Pro Tools session for the song Heaven, which is actually one of our most popular tunes from a couple albums ago. I'm here every Wednesday. We do one of these now every Wednesday, 1 o'clock, especially while we're all still kind of stuck at home. It's going to be a while before we play shows again. Chat room is open. I've got a bunch more to go through here, but if you guys have any questions about the writing process or production techniques, sounds, drop it in the chat, and I'll be sure to answer it as soon as I can. And hello to those of you that just tuned in. So yeah, once this verse was written, the main challenge with the chorus was how do you take this very dramatic but romantic and beautiful idea and just I wanted the music to match that. I wanted it to be as lush as possible, as emotional as possible, and it was a matter of just sort of balancing it out with a lot of different things, and that's a challenge too. I mean, I talk a lot about arrangement being almost more, even as important, if not more important, than mixing as you're building a song, and I really believe in that. So even for here, that first chorus comes in. I'll play it for you. There's really not much comes in. If anything, I wanted it to feel like this settle point, because the melody is really beautiful that Winslow sings there. So here it is, instrumental.
We separate the bodies fall.
What's cool about that is there's really not much of a low-end bass to it. And I really like that idea because it allows this melody to sort of float, And I wanted, when people listen to the song for the first time, I wanted you to get to that chorus and to just feel like you're in a different world. So here it is with that vocal. So yeah, that was all about. Winslow had a really wonderful delivery, which was it was super light, super breathy, and sort of magical sounding, and it was just really about accenting that even more. You know, again, layers of delay and reverb sort of interplaying, so it creates this lush atmosphere. And I'll play it for you really quick without any effects. You know, it's obviously a very different thing. It's double tracked.
Heaven, I'm in heaven. Heaven, I'm in heaven.
Super light. So I took that and just compressed it and delayed it a lot. Again, it's an Echo Boy, Memory Man, EQ, scooping out some of those low mids that get built up, and then just a CLA2 that's compressing the sound.
Heaven, I'm in heaven.
It's not even doing much, it's barely touching it. And then the same reverb and delay that I'm being sent to in the verse. And this is the final product of all those effects. I mean, it worked really well for this. That's that. So from there, it was really a matter of building that idea for the next few choruses. And so I had Winslow layer a few more. So the second, lush, really lush.
Will it die if we close our eyes in the dark? Heaven, I'm in heaven.
Beautiful layers. And then, I wanted that second part of the chorus, the will it die if we close our eyes in the dark? Like what transformation can happen? I wanted that to be the peak emotionally, so that's where my voice comes in and has a nice lower harmony by a third.
Will it die?
Oh, I'm down here. Apologies.
Will it die if we close our eyes in the dark? Heaven, I'm in heaven.
And that's, that became the basis. That really became the basis of that choral vocal. I mean, the vocal's huge in this song because I wanted it to be. I wanted that cloud of vocals to kind of sit on top and in everything, just kind of mushing around, because it makes it really feel dreamy. And that was the goal. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit of how I built out the production there, because obviously the vocals are dreamy and emotional and like pretty huge sounding. But how do you take this idea and keep building it in a track? So for me, the basis again was the arpeggiator, which is up here. So that's the preface. Sorry. So the arpeggiator all the way up here. That's the full arpeggiator from the Juno. Then there's the tighter one above it. So those layered really create that fast 16th note percussion. Then there's the Juno 1, the chords. And then against that, because everything's so smooth, I was like, there has to be some sharp accents. There has to be some chord hits. And that's where this DX7 bounce came in. And this is from a great soft synth called the UVI Workstation. For anyone that, it's one of those things you just kind of collect over the years, blah, blah, blah. But it's this one's less of a cheap plugin, but it's incredibly powerful. And there's so many different plugins. And this is basically like a DX7 emulator. That's why these things are so funny. They always have like the same name. But as you can hear, you know, especially you can, let me just mute all these extra plugins. This is the, sorry, wrong key. It's an incredible plugin. It's a huge chord stab. So when you take that and you just kind of compress it, add some delay, it creates this beautiful, and I'll just hide it now because we don't need it anymore. This is the bounce of that sound, and it really made a huge difference for those choruses. Yeah, just a huge synth sound. That's one layer, you know? And it was great because it didn't really have to layer much on top of that because it was just, it's everything you need. So that kind of accented the chords that were being very legato in the other side. And then it was about hitting that same exact thing with percussion. I had recorded some roto samples, some rototom samples at a studio, and I just kind of saved them and kept them for whenever I needed them. So they were basically, that's one, and then some roto reverb, which I printed, and it's kind of insane. But that's what ended up happening in the here, I'll just play the percussion for those choruses. And you can hear that gated noise move around if you have headphones. Really, I love that. I love how that came together. And it's, you know, this combination of very like epic percussion, but everything's really polished and edited down. I don't know why this says, check this out. Huh. Guess I liked it. It's a funny thing to name a sample. Check this out. And the only other thing there is that for those second and third choruses, I thought it would be cool if there was an actual electric bass matching the main synth line. And so I recorded these very epic bass getting sent to a lot of reverb, actually. Yeah. Which I would say for any producers, mixers out there, it was challenging adding this much kind of you would call like washy materials, you know, because a bass reverb, that's sending a lot of sustained low-end information across the mix. The key was a lot of this, I just carved out low mids, carved out low end, and I know Claudius, upon mixing, had to do a lot more too, but it still was a very particular, just a particular sort of timbre within the whole mix, and it was really kind of moody. So here's all the instrumentals. So that's sounding pretty huge. I also added some really nice layers of acoustic, which I think helped with that percussive aspect. Cut out, look, there's like no low end at all. Combine those with the arps here. These sort of all act together, you know, 16th notes. So that's the acoustic layer. I also have 2 layers of vibrato guitar and high guitar and low guitar. God, there's a reason why it sounds big, and I did my best to make it all work together. But there's 3 more layers of chords on the guitar here, all with the diamond vibrato and this reverb again, sort of to give it that lush wash. those interact against the synth too are beautiful because of the chorusing, they just create this nice modulation. It's even more of like this analog tape smear that's created there. And then the final piece of that whole puzzle, again, was that the second half of that chorus really needed to lift. It needed to feel like the peak of tension. So I added a few more layers of like sharper guitar parts, which is here. And this kind of lifts up that second half in a really fun way. So as you can see against the track, this I think doubled. Oh yeah, that's higher harmony on the right. And then there's two more layers that I think are more legato. Yeah. Just strumming through. Corey, Jazz McNerdy asks, your right or my right? It should be everyone's right. So basically, all that together in the second half, you'll hear this lift. This was a really, I enjoyed, this was one of a few songs on the record that was able to do an instrumental bridge, which I always really, really enjoy, especially in like a lot of that 80s power pop stuff. But it was fun because it had this dark, sensual, romantic vibe, so I just wanted to like, again, keep going down that path. And the perfect vessel was just, keeping those guitars, keeping that wash, and then doing a really fun layered guitar solo. There was also this Prophet that comes in on the bridge. Same patch, just softer on the Prophet 08, which is down there. Against the other synths. And there's also more snare. Just hear it against all the drums. It's really fun. You have those arps, you have the, that's all continuing the energy. And over that, I wanted to have a really washy guitar. Same chords, but just building up. And then from there, I just kept layering. I mean, maybe, again, this is one of those situations where like, maybe I added too many guitars. This is 12... 16, 17 tracks of guitars. I'm really sorry. But it's just, sometimes these things happen and you can't fight it. That's all. Where's that reverb even coming from? This guy? No, this guy? Yeah, that's a lot of Memory Man. And again, the RV5 set to modulation and a pretty wet signal. It was just fun layers. So you have all those layers of guitars against basically the same track continuing. I'll just play that for you guys now to hear it. This is what the complete bridge sounded like. And it was fun because it builds up to this tense moment where then it drops again into a drum breakdown. Frodo. And again, that just lifts into that last chorus, and it just kind of keeps flowing there with that same, that same layering of lushness. The main difference is at the end, there was this secondary hook that I think we added very, very late in the game, which are basically the oh, oh, which was usually like the first thing that I can't sing on tour after I drink too much or something. But it's basically these layers over the outro.
Wow, 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 wow.
Which is really fun. So those I'll show you guys. I think I have some too. Yeah, harmonies. More harmonies on my end. Can barely sing it right now, but it's 2 layers stacked and sort of screamed. And against the track, it has that build up, the acoustic and everything, and it's really cool. And the last piece of the puzzle on this song, which again, it was just such a vibe that I couldn't stop coming up with kind of like fun little, just wanted to make it more and more lush, wanted to make it more and more dramatic. And I thought for this, because there's this huge buildup and then this release of reverb, what if we had like a little outro, And at the time, I believe I was just playing with a lot of those Prophet 08 patches, which again, if you ever get a hand on, this is a very inspirational synth because there's a lot of fun possibilities in the arpeggiators and the sequencers. I don't think I have this saved. Yeah, this was all analog. So let's see, where is it? Yeah. Taking the filters off. I basically just came across this cool thing, and that's all based around a figure of F, G, C, and A on 2 different octaves. I just played it in and edited it. But what's cool about that is that, especially with that reverb, the reverb tail that was over the end of all these vocals, that layered with this acoustic, to me is just so vibey. It's just suspended C6 chord. And I had it going to reverb. I'm sending it to a lush reverb more and more. I think I printed it that way. And then, the reverb is going up down here. Yeah, so as you can see, the reverb actually swells over into the ending, as does the volume. But then also, I filter it down sequence. So if you see these two filter knobs here are going to move simultaneously, automated. Instant vibe. What's cool, we actually took, Lauren and I ended up taking that outro, because we played this song a lot as a duo on the last couple tours. Took that outro and created a whole kind of like a big electronic jam over the ending, which was really, really fun. But anyway, that's basically it. It was those 2 elements filtered down, and you can hear how, what really makes it special is obviously the vocal tail. Cloud of sound slowly filtering down, and that's the end of the song. Oh gosh, did I even leave that on the original? I don't even know if I left it on the song. Holy moly, did we edit that out? Because guys, let's go to my YouTube and let's check it out. Heaven, Savoir, Adore. Let's see. This is the ultimate test, guys. Yeah, it stayed. Yeah, see, it's sometimes, guys, sometimes I forget. Sometimes I forget how our songs ended up because there's always this like mad dash at the last minute where I like submit the song and our manager or record label's like, we love everything about this, but just get rid of the outro. And it's happened. That happened with Giants, and I get it. Sometimes for different formats, but I try most of the time to be like, this is important to us, so we're not going to change that. But for some reason, I couldn't remember if we kept that outro. What we didn't do is we never played that outro live with the full band because it was just kind of, it was hard to recreate like this filter sweep. It was very, that's a very specific thing. But yeah, that is basically this track. It is, for a very large session, it is actually pretty straightforward, especially because the song was written really quickly. It had this very focused idea, and usually when I'm a part of music like that, when I'm a part of a song like that, this kind of the idea, the concept is all there. The production really, it's easy. It takes on a life of its own. There's a mission statement from the get-go. It's like, make this big, make this lush, make it romantic, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about anything else. And I think it came together in that way in a really cool fashion. So that's pretty much the breakdown of this one. If you guys are, for those of you still tuning in, still watching, if you have any questions at all, drop me a note. Anything about the song, anything about this production, the layering of instruments. I'm going to hang out for a little bit more. Yeah, I wish I had edited some of this a little better. There's like a bunch of mistakes in this session, but because there's so much reverb, no one will ever know until I just told you right now. Sorry. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Again, we are here every Wednesday breaking down some of our music. I think next week, actually, I'm finally going to try and do a live writing session and kind of talk through it and kind of create some song ideas, see, kind of discuss how the workflow of producing stuff. But thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, Jordan. That's a nice comment. Someone just said favorite album. Thank you very much. I love this album too. I think it's a really good one, not to pick favorites. It's one of my favorites though from ours. That's Heaven. That's the tune. I'm going to let this play down. I'm going to let the final mix play down one more time so you guys can all hear it. Let me just pull that up again on YouTube just so you can see a little something. Ooh, look, this is a live version. Where's that from? Oh, from LA. Nothing like a camera phone in the front row. Some cool lights then. But I'm going to play the full
You have
song
found
here.
them. Yes.
This is, after this advertisement, this is the final mix. Oh, cool. Yeah.
This is
Oh, Justin, I hear you, man. I would love to do it. I think we should do it. Justin was asking saying he would love to see it. I definitely want to do a... Yeah, I have all the chat windows open here. It's pretty neat. I'll show you guys really quick if you can see it. Basically, the Restream app, it aggregates. Is that the word? It combines Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube into one chat, so that I can actually see every comment, which is great. But yeah, Justin, man, I think I'll do it next week if I can figure out. There was a little bit of a weird glitch where I can't record a microphone while also broadcasting. I'm sure there is a solution. It's just, again, one of those. There are so many little problems with doing live streaming that is, you would think they'd be really simple, but it's like, like just so you can't really see it, but this is my setup here. I have to have another monitor in order to run OBS. I have my laptop for the chat, obviously my main computer for Pro Tools, and there's probably a simpler way of doing it, but this is the only way to do it also, to have this microphone set up, to have the chat, just lots of stuff. But anyway, that was a quick aside. I'm going to let the track play. Here, let me just let this advertisement go because, come on, this is the final version of Heaven, which Claudius Mittendorfer mixed so well. I know it was probably a challenge to handle the 19 layers of guitars I absolutely did not need to record. But here's the final version, beautifully mixed by Claudius. That's the album cover, beautifully designed by Andreas Lai. It's a Norwegian artist. Thanks again all for tuning in and joining us here. If you're new, if you just stumbled across this, give us a follow on whatever service you're on. Of course, follow us on Spotify. You can listen to some more music. If you have a request for a specific song of ours that you want us to break down, please let me know, because I'm, basically every Wednesday morning now, I'm like, what should I do? and then I kind of look at our music. So, but yeah, I think next week I'm gonna start a session from scratch and talk through different ideas like that. I think that'll be fun. Maybe even, I mean, a fun exercise too could be, kind of writing an idea by committee and taking ideas from all of you. So please, again, let me know if you have any other questions. I'm gonna be hanging for a little bit, but first, I'm gonna let this song play us out. outro. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks again for spending a little time hanging out. That was...
Need a new central or ductless AC system?
No, I don't need a new AC system. Bye, YouTube. That was Heaven from our album, The Love That Remains. Give us a follow on Spotify. You can check out the rest of that album. I think it's, I think we did a good job with it. It's one of my favorite pieces we've put together. So check it out there. I'll be back Saturday night for our dance party, Sunday morning for our chill set, and again next week for a session breakdown. I think, yeah, Jazz McNerdy. I think as of this moment, I just got sponsored by whatever HVAC was going on YouTube. So I'll let them know about our deal later. I'm Paul from Savoir. Thanks again. And yeah, let us know. Give us a note on Instagram or Facebook if you have any other ideas, or on Twitch. I think you can do that too. We are open to so many things right now because we're just at home trying to connect with you all until we can get back out and play shows. So hope everyone is safe and healthy and doing well out there, and we'll see you soon.